So it's Easter Saturday here in Broadford in Kildare, and this video is going to be a little bit different from the ones that I normally do. Obviously most of my videos are about law or business or something like that, but this one actually is about religion. And before you switch off or back away from it, it's not going to be one in which I try to persuade you about religion or any particular religion or about the existence of God. It's just a simple sort of musing of my own experience in the last while. I went to a Catholic boarding school when I was a young fella, like from the age of say 12 to 17, and every day, every morning we were up at 7 o'clock and went to Mass, and every evening at 9:30 then, before we went to bed, we had night prayer. So it's unusual, you'd imagine, for a person like me to stop going to Mass, and much to my embarrassment or shame, I suppose, or confusion, I did stop going to Mass. And yesterday, for the first time in a long time, I actually went into the church on Good Friday. I kind of had it in my head that I would go back at some stage, particularly on Good Friday, and I used to like, for some reason, for some strange reason, the Good Friday ceremony. So I haven't been in the church since Christmas Day, and I went in yesterday for the Passion commemoration or ceremony or whatever it's called, and I found it quite moving. I was glad I went. I haven't been to the church, as I say, since Christmas, and today is Easter Saturday and yesterday was Good Friday, and it's not something that I'm proud of, but I'm glad I went. And lately I was just thinking there about not going to church and about not going to Mass and about the existence of God or not, and it kind of struck me in the last fortnight or so. I have a daughter out in Cambodia, and I was asking her just in a FaceTime thing there with her mother about religion in Cambodia, and she was saying that there are Buddhists there and that she has been in Buddhist temples, and it's all taken obviously very seriously. And recently then, in the last fortnight or so, my daughter is teaching kids out there just as sort of work experience, but she had her bag snatched, and we were wondering, was there anybody there to sort of help her or assist her? And the only Irish girl there is actually a Muslim. And it kind of struck me then, I was watching the Channel 4 news that evening, and it's during the week, and last week there was attacks in Egypt on Coptic Christians, I think, Christian churches, and there was many, I don't know how many Christians actually killed by Muslim fanatics or fundamentalists, or call them what you like. But all in the space of a few days, it kind of crossed my mind and became apparent, although it was always apparent, I suppose, that all of these people in one way or another believe in something. In other words, the people in Cambodia are obviously into Buddhism and Buddha and so on. My daughter's Lisa's friend on the trip with her is a Muslim, so clearly she believes in Allah and has her set of beliefs, Islam and so on. The people then in Egypt who were massacred, they all believe in something. They believe in Christ, and they were massacred for that, and apparently there's a lot of persecution and failure to protect Christians in Egypt and other places where there's a Muslim majority, and there's fundamentalists or extremists and so on. And then obviously you have Muslims who are hugely in the news, in particular the fundamentalist or extreme Muslims like ISIS, carrying out all sorts of atrocities. But all of these people, by one way or another, and by one dint of reasoning or another, have arrived at a conclusion that there is some sort of a God, whether it's Jesus Christ, whether it's God, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Allah, or whether it's Muhammad, whether it's whoever. And it kind of struck me that there must be something in it, because all of these people in massively geographically diverse parts of the world all independently arrived at the conclusion of their own free will and their own volition that there must be something out there, that there must be something, some sort of an afterlife or some sort of a God or some sort of a superior being. Call it what you will. Now, you know, I'm no religious nut and I'm no religious fanatic or anything, but if you think, like people in Cambodia, for example, where my daughter is, they would never have been influenced thousands of years ago by, for example, Christians or Muslims, but they arrived through their own reasoning and so on at a belief system, at the understanding of some sort of a religion for them, and their understanding obviously that there's some sort of a superior being out there or an afterlife. Kind of struck me though, as I say, just bringing it back to Easter Saturday here in Kildare and going to the church on Good Friday. It may well be another 6 months or 4 months or 8 months before I go to the church again, and that is a poor reflection on me, quite frankly, and it's more to do with not so much a lack of belief in something, in God or in Jesus Christ, but a lack of discipline to actually go and make the time, take the time out of a busy enough schedule. But there's really no excuse for it. But to round back to the beginning of my video, I think it's a bit incredible, a bit unbelievable that all of these people in different parts of the world have independently, because back in the day, thousands of years ago, there was no social media, there was no instant communication, and each society would not have been influenced to any great extent by the other. In other words, whatever people in the United Kingdom or Ireland believed back, in 1100 AD couldn't possibly have interviewed or influenced people in Cambodia, and yet people in Cambodia and people in Iran and people in Iraq and all over the place formed a view based on the Bible, based on the Quran, based on whatever, that there is something out there, that there is a God. So that is my musing for Good Friday and the other Easter Saturday and Good Friday, Easter weekend, such a critical weekend in the Christian calendar. The other thing that just struck me as well, there was my daughter then, as I say, in Cambodia, and the influence of the Buddhist religion there, her friend then being a Muslim, me watching the Channel 4 news and seeing the Christians in Egypt being killed by the Muslims, the Muslim fundamentalists, extremists. And then I began to read a very, very good book yesterday evening, and the book's actually about the birth of the prosecution of genocide and crimes against humanity. And it actually starts off with the Nuremberg trials, or prior to the Nuremberg trials in 1940, whatever it was, 2 or whenever. They went on, but the book's actually centered around a city in Ukraine called Lviv, that's L-V-E-V, and this city has actually had about 4 different name changes in the last 100, 200 years, because this city was the center, or in the Austro-Hungarian Empire at one time. Then it was invaded or taken over by Poland, then it was taken over by the Germans, and now it's actually and it was also taken over by the Russians, and then it was it's now in the Ukraine. And funnily enough, I was just began to read the book last night. An excellent book it is. I'll put a link down below perhaps to it. But I was reading about the city, and in it there is a Catholic cathedral, St. George's Cathedral, I think. And again, this is a city in the Ukraine which has undergone massive changes over hundreds of years, and yet there's a Catholic church there. And whether it's a Catholic church or a Christian church, it's hard to escape the conclusion that all of these people in all of these very diverse places geographically, all down through the centuries, they can't all be wrong, can they? Anyway, I'd be interested to hear what you think. Leave your comments down below. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe in anything? Do you believe it's a good idea that this time next year the pubs will be open on Good Friday? This is one video. It's more of a personal vlog. As you can see on my channel, most of my videos are about law and about business, but I'd be very interested to hear from you, to see what you think I should be making videos about. I'd be, as I say, happy to hear from you, and if you find the video useful, if you find it provocative, if you find it halfway interesting, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just hit the button down below, and if you think the video is useful and you like it, maybe give us a thumbs up. But it's